Not that I really need to offer additional proof on top of what I already have over and over of all the claims I make, and especially my crazy sounding story. Something's just happened. I thought I'd say a few words on and explain things that verify my story just yet again, over and over. But this is a interesting point. I thought I'd just upload a video on, just a quick video, about the Voyager probes. In 1977, the year I was born, in fact around the same time I was born, the two Voyager probes were sent. They were sent at that time because I was born during an extremely rare planetary alignment, so that they could, this was like a one-time chance they had, where they could send these probes out, and they'd be able, because the planets were aligned, they could bounce off one planet to the other and go through all the planets in the solar system in one trip, instead of waiting 100 years here or there for a planet to be in such a closer position that you could get a probe. This all happened at the same time, and they rushed it to send these two Voyager probes out. Now, I just found out just a few minutes ago, the second Voyager probe has now left the solar system, and it's confirming what the first Voyager probe has detected. So what's happened is they're now bombarded with a lot of galactic radiation, and because of there being two probes, they're able to they've done some measurements to detect what's going on. And just as the Earth has like a magnetic shield around it that makes it insulation against things outside the Earth, the solar system does, if not more so, with the sun. So you get certain distance away from the sun, and you basically go through a firewall. Once you break through that firewall, it gets noisy. So there's a shield that prevents you from hearing a lot of information that comes out from across the galaxy and universe. So in my story, I said that this might not have made sense to a lot of people, but I said in my story that signals weren't used to communicate between planets and people and different alien groups and stuff. It was all done through messengers. Now, the only direct explanation they gave me when I asked them one time about it was basically the equivalent of the word unreliable, that it was unreliable to send messages. And there wasn't much information that explained, not that really it needed to be, because it was all pretty clear why. Anyway, it wasn't not much needed to be explained. But messengers were sent in person with the information, and to speak in person to guarantee that a message would be sent and received. And there's some political stuff involved as well and all that. But basically, in order to get any kind of message sent, messengers were sent in person. So whereas I can speak to you right now, you're listening to this through the internet, through a signal and stuff, across long distances, they do it in person. It may take a little bit longer, but it's reliable and it works. So I'm not saying that signals can't be received, but it's extremely unreliable, and any signal that you can get through, if you manage to get one through, because it's so unreliable, because of different changes in sun radiation and all kinds of factors involved. If you manage to detect a signal, you don't have much. You got a lot of noise, and there's not much you can really. You don't have much to work on. One messenger could exchange more information than billions of years of speaking in signals in like a really, like dial-up compared to fiber. So in my story, I said that there was the only signal communication was between Andromeda and the Milky Way, and that this has been going on for a very long time, and the only messages that were being sent were just really basic a few sentences here and there, and that it'd take like millions of years between each communication just to say a couple of sentences. And this is the only communication that's been sent between Andromeda and the Milky Way over a very long period of time. Well, what these Voyager probes have discovered backs up what I say about long distance communication. Why signals weren't used. Now, also in my story, I think I said this in some of my talks. I don't think I actually went into these details in my actual story compilation. I think it's in some of my talks where I explained where when the mobile fortress moves, it would leave like a beacon, and that beacon would use signals, and you'd be able to detect them, but you'd only detect them at close range. They were designed that way so that you would know where to send a message in the blind, and you wouldn't be able to find it unless you sent the right message in close proximity. So it'd be hidden. You'd have to already. No, it's a long story. I've gone through talks over that. But basically, signals were used, but they're only used as like beacons, only as short range beacons, and they would have information on wherever the one that sent the beacon would be going to. But this all backs up my story yet again. That using signals to communicate long distances is extremely unreliable. It doesn't, and if you manage to get something in, you get very little information in. The way information is exchanged is directly through sending messages in person, sending them in ships to send a message in person. And when they stay long enough to get the job done thoroughly. They don't just, it takes a long time to get from A to B. When a messenger goes somewhere, they don't leave until the job's done. So anyway, the Voyager probes have confirmed what I've said in my story about long distance communication. Yeah, the Voyager probes are almost out of power now, and it's going to be difficult to communicate with them. They're still close, but they're on the other side of this firewall. So I don't know how difficult they're able to communicate with, but they're able to get data at least. But the further they go into this noisy area of interstellar space, the more difficult it is going to be to detect them. This is what I said in my story: is the resources it took to send a really basic couple of sentence long message between galaxies took massive resources that only a major galactic governmental power could do. It all backs up what I say. If you look into what I say, look into this yourself. You see what this is why it's different. I'm not saying you can't pick up signals from interstellar space, but you're not going to have any chance at making any sense of it. You might detect an anomaly. Okay, there's some kind of signal somewhere that was sent, but it's just going to be a loud noise, distorted noise, at best. And SETI and the like have picked up many such signals, but they can't make heads or tails of it because it's just distorted noise. This is why. So there's a firewall around the solar system that protects from almost all interstellar signals that could be received. And you would expect that every solar system is the same. If you're in a massive like city kind of space station in open space, in interstellar space, you wouldn't be have such a problem. Maybe you might actually have some a bit of a buffer, a shield, if you had some massive city-sized space station as well, but obviously not to the degree of a solar system or a planet. And these were the conditions by which the signal was received. Now, in my story, this the place that they received this message, this wasn't inside or just outside the space station. There was a specific area with a long, very long kind of corridor kind of thing. It must have went for like at least a couple of kilometers or something. And it went to an area that was far, like much further outside of the mobile fortress, one could argue that this is to avoid any interference from the mobile fortress itself, so that it could detect this signal that they were waiting for. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that. Yeah, everything I say keeps getting verified over time. But how many times until people who don't take me seriously do take me seriously, and those who do know that I'm telling the truth, but it's just too controversial to deal with, you're going to have to fucking deal with it. Because look around, look at the world around you. It's all falling apart. I don't just have a crazy story. I have solutions. I can show everything firsthand. So listen to my story. Come to the table, put your ideas on the table, and test them in the fire of debate. Because you might be catastrophically wrong about something. You know, your hand's shit. Your hand of cards is shit. You know it's shit. That's why you're not. That's why you're not gonna come to the table. Well, if you lose those bad cards, that gives you room to gain better cards. I can give you cards that never fail. I can show you and prove it firsthand. So anyway, I just thought I just saw something just now about the Voyager probes confirming my story. I just thought I'd mention that. All right.